Waring Jones is a vibrant poet with a deep appreciation for kindness, love, and friendship. And Waring joins us now. How are you today?
I'm really good, thanks. Yeah, I'm on the west coast of Canada.
Oh, nice. So, what time is it for you right now?
Right now, it's 10:30 in the morning.
Nice. So, how would you describe your style of poetry?
Well, like the book says, it's reflections, but I've been writing poetry since I was a teenager, but for the last 30 years, 25 years, I've been trying to write a poem every day. It doesn't always work out, but it's reflective poetry about things that are happening in the here and now with me. I often just get one or two lines in my head, and then I can sit down and write a poem about it.
Yeah.
So it's a gift that I have, and I don't take it lightly because a lot of my poems only take me an hour. But I love people and I love life and I love putting it down on paper.
Yeah.
So it's I guess it's welcoming poetry, and it's it's here and now poetry.
And writing a poem every day, does that get quite challenging at times?
No, not really. And if it is, I don't do it. So I don't always do it. I've written, I don't know, 500-600 poems, I guess. And some of them are really good, and some are just average. You know, so if it seems like it's going to be challenging, then I don't do it that day.
And do you enjoy doing it and look forward to writing the poems?
I do. I really look forward to writing it. It's part of I like to have a breakfast for about 2 hours. I like to have a couple of coffees and start my day. And part of that 2 hours is glancing at the newspaper online and then writing a poem.
Yeah, it's good that you look forward to it and enjoy it because, of course, you know, if you did have days that you thought, you know, you couldn't do it, that doesn't become a habit.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And as I say, I try and meet a new person every day if I can. That's part of my life. And my wife died 4 years ago, and then I just started to go out and meet as many people as I could. And so a lot of them poems sort of reflect those friendships that I have and just thoughts on life. I was lucky to lead a good, wonderful, varied life. So I'd like to put it down on paper.
Absolutely. And you are actually biracial.
That's right.
And your poem, Black Lives Matter, is kind of significant in terms of your heritage. So did your family history influence you to write that?
It did. My grandfather, on my dad's side, 100 years this year, he was the first Black school teacher hired in Ontario.
Wow.
And so yes, it does. And his great grandparents came in through the Underground Railroad from the States, and where he came in on the eastern tip of Lake Ontario is also where the Mohawk Nation is, and that's where my grandmother's from. And so the two of them met there, and then my mom is Irish, so it's actually, I guess, triracial.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. And my father even, I mean, people say Canada's all pure and good and accepting, but my dad used to work for the federal government, and in the mid to late 50s, he was denied access into one of the big hotels in Ottawa here in the capital. They said, we don't allow Blacks. I mean, so everybody thinks they're all, you know, shishi, but every country, I think, and that's a pretty broad statement, but I mean, lots of countries think that they're accepting, and they are, but it hasn't always been that way. So it's good. Yeah, I felt good about writing that poem.
Do you think it's maybe important to acknowledge the past?
I think it's very important to acknowledge the past. It lets us go forward with that knowledge of what we'd like to achieve and to accept people for what they are. I was going to say, who cares what the skin color is? Obviously, lots of people do, but I certainly don't. And I've really tried my best not to prove friendships on because of skin color. For me, I was raised as a Quaker as well, and I don't practice it now, but because I was in it for so long, for 30 years, doing it every day. I mean every week. I found that being open to everyone, for me, feels fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you have some memories of your father reading to you with different voices, which sounds like a lovely memory. So has that experience influenced or maybe even triggered your own appreciation for literature and storytelling?
Totally has. I mean, I'm one of 5 kids, and he used to read us Winnie the Pooh around the table, and he'd take on the voices of Eeyore and Christopher Robin, and you've probably read A.A. Milne as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we all loved it. And then my last story that I wrote, called Elphus, the Friendly Elf, he used to he had a line in there that he used to use for something different, and it was the line, Alan Doe, quacky quack, window, pony cake, honky tonky o. And I incorporated that line into my last book about Santa Claus and Jack Frost and their fight for the North Pole. And it just came to me. I don't know how I remembered it from 75 years ago, but I did. And it's a fantastic. Yeah, he loved literature and passing on his knowledge. He had Latin because that you could take it then when he was growing up. And he loved words and he loved storytelling. Yeah, so it definitely had a big influence on myself.
And how has poetry helped you express your emotions and thoughts about various topics over the years?
Well, my partner and I just drove across Canada. You ever been to Canada?
I haven't, no.
No, anyway, it's 10,000 kilometers each way.
Yeah.
Or 9,000. We drove over 18,000 kilometers in 2 months. And when we were on the prairies, my partner, this just happened I just got home a week ago. She looked in the rearview mirror. She said, look at those clouds behind us. They're blue and black. And so I wrote down that. And then a few days ago, I wrote a poem about blue and black clouds. And I'm ADD, and I don't know how much you know about ADD, but anyway, words trigger an ADD person like crazy. And so I immediately wrote a verse in my head about blue and black, and it is. It could be anything. My living room window looks out across onto an apartment building and a lot of women walk their kids along there, holding their hands, and the kids get up in this little wall. And I wrote a story about the parents holding their children's hand. And I remember that, you're having your mom hold your hand when you're one of 5 kids and you're by yourself. Those are great memories. So I do try and incorporate every day-to-day things to make them be exciting and important to people that accept them and participate in those actions.
Travelling across Canada, it sounds exciting because, as you mentioned, it's such a long distance. It's the second biggest country in the world.
Yes.
So do you get to see a lot and maybe got quite a lot of inspiration from that, not just from the clouds?
Oh, totally. Yeah, my kids are all in Ontario, which is about 6,000 kilometers away. So I haven't seen them for 3 or 4 years because of COVID. And when you travel, when you start off on the West Coast, you hit a mountain range. It's actually the Rockies are actually 3 sets of mountain ranges, and you travel through these mountains and you can't almost see the top. I mean, I'm exaggerating. You can see the top, but they're so far up, 80 degrees where you are, or 26, whatever.
Yeah.
And at the top, you see snow. And then you come onto the prairies. And one of the most memorable things we just had a couple of weeks ago was looking out and seeing the canola fields that are bright, bright yellow. And you see them 2 or 3 miles wide. And then beside them is the wheat. And beside that is the barley. and it looks like an enormous blanket of a patchwork. And then you come again to Lake Superior. It's the biggest of all the Great Lakes. Takes 3 days to leave Ontario. Just
Wow.
driving at six hours a day. And then you go to the Maritimes, and it's more wonder again. And you go to Quebec City. Quebec City is the oldest city in North America. It's still got a wall around it. It's like stepping into the past. And I loved it, and so did my partner. She's from Ireland originally. She's been here 40 years, but anyway, she said, "Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable." I know that's used a lot, but awesome is also a word that's used a lot. But it's fantastic country. I spent time in England too. You're British, are you?
Yes.
Yeah. I spent time in England when I was 20. I ran a pub there on the Thames.
Oh wow.
I love new cultures and old cultures combined. It's fantastic.
Now, you mentioned earlier about trying to make a new friend every day.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the most heartwarming or interesting stories that you've learnt from them?
Well, I say when my being a poet and an author, my first book was called Letter from Santa Claus, which was written by my dad, but I still have that letter from 75 years ago. I wanted people to recognize me and be able to approach me. Most people wear black, brown, or whatever, which is fine. I got that. But I started buying these special shoes. They're called Fluvogs. It's by a designer in Vancouver, but he's got shops all over the world. So they're very interesting shoes and very colorful. So after my first pair of shoes that I bought, I thought, well, I'm going to do something different. They happen to be yellow and black. So I bought all white clothing and dyed them to match my shoes. And then I knew that so I had a bright yellow outfit. And then I bought another pair. And so over the last 2 or 3 years, I owned 12 pair of these. Each time I bought white clothing and dyed it to match, because I knew that if somebody saw a person all dressed in red walking down the street, they're probably approachable. They're not shy. Yeah. And so it made it a lot easier to meet people. And then I also give away silver dollars I give away, you can't get them anymore, but I have a source here. And when I meet people, I give them a silver dollar, and you give a silver dollar to somebody who's a total stranger and give them a hug. Some people start crying. And there's especially the senior. I mean, I'm a senior, I'm 80. There's so many seniors and others, they haven't been hugged or talked to in years. And I want to meet these new people and tell them that people love them and that you're not alone, and that, yes, you're important. And if you see me on the street, talk to me. I have some people a year later, they'll see me walking down the street and they don't know me, and they'll reach in their pocket and pull out a silver dollar and say, "I've still got it here for good luck. Thanks." So I know that it's working. Yeah, it's very heartwarming for me and for them. So I enjoy that, and I'm gonna keep up with it.
Does that itself help you to make new friends?
It does for sure. And I'm obviously not introverted. And
yes.
So with the combination of my color and telling people that, yes, they're important, and would you like a hug? I've never been turned down for somebody giving somebody a hug. I love it. And it feels, for me, it energizes me more than anything that I can do. It's very, I'm being selfish about it because I love it just as much as they do.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you're 80 years old, but you're still actively writing poems and
I am, yeah.
Working hard.
I still work.
Yeah.
I've been a contractor for 45 years, a building contractor, designer. I still go out and do people's painting and building, and because I can do every trade. Yeah. And everybody needs stuff fixed in their house. And so I just go out, and people say, "How come you still do it at your age?" I said, "Well, I love doing it. And at the end of the week, people give me money." So it feels good, and I think if you're kept busy, it enriches your life and enriches other people's lives as well. And going back to painting, I used to do oil painting when I was younger, and my dad was great at oil painting as well. And a lot of my friends are artists and singers and stuff. So I'm going to go back to doing that as well, because then that's something it's like poetry. You put it down and people can see it. And it's not like they're judging it, but they can. It's something more that's a part of your life and shows your feeling for color and for enjoyment.
Yeah, and I think they say you don't stop working because you get old. You get old because you stop working.
I agree totally with that. Yes, I think it's fantastic. My partner Liz, she leads hikes around the island, around the world actually, but on Vancouver Island is fantastic for hiking. It's got hills and oceans and moss on trees. And a lot of her people that hike with her are over 70. Wow. A lot of them are. And they've got seniors that have lots to say. They've lived wide and varied lives, and they got lots to say, and a lot of them are living on their own, often through choice, but not necessarily. And so there's a lot of them. They can hike for 15, 20 kilometers. That's a long way up and down, uphill and down dale, as they say. That's a long way. For me. I'm good at walking and talking, but I'm not that good at climbing hills. But we all have our own special things that we can do, and so that's good. Yeah, I think, like you said, if you stop working, you're not meeting people, for one thing. I think that's what COVID did. I think COVID isolated a lot of people. I don't know about in England, but it sure did here in Canada, and it was devastating in that respect.
Well, is there anything that you're working on at the moment, poetry-wise and renovations-wise, if you like?
Well, I'm sharing. I live in the front of a house, and my landlady just asked me if I'd like to renovate her kitchen. So I'm starting that next month. But also my publisher that I'm with now has offered me a job, and I've accepted it to be their Canadian ambassador for their company, for Atticus Publishing. And so that just happened a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be going on the road for them, attending book fairs and talking to people, so that if they want to get something published, they can talk to a published author and give them the ups and downs, and just let them know that things are available, and they want me to publicize my book. And because a lot of authors, there's 23 million authors, I think, around, that are trying to submit their books to Amazon. And so it's a huge, huge business. And so, I'm very excited about that. That just happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, in the meantime, where are we able to keep up to date with you and find all the poetry that you've done so far?
You can do it through Atticus Publishing, but you can also, I can give you my email address, and people can contact me, or you can contact me. I'm always open to talking to anybody. I love Gab Fests. And,
yes.
So I can send you any information that you like. If you want to send me your address, I can give you different ways that you can reach me and anybody else, and you can pass it on if you like.
Sounds great. And is there places where we can read your poems and just find them?
Well, my book of poetry is on Amazon, and it's called Do you have the poetry book, or have you just know that it's out there?
I just know that it's out there, but I haven't been given it.
Yeah, it's called Poetry Reflections, and it's under Waring Jones, Waring, Waring Jones. Poetry Reflections, celebrating 80 wonderful years.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you here.
You too. I appreciate it.